So, is everyone awake here in the front rows? In the back, is everyone awake as well? I didn't hear you. I heard a no in the middle there, but yeah, okay. So, first things first, before starting my talk, can I get a huge applause for our amazing MC and for the organization? So, thank you so much for having me. So, let's start with this talk. The title of the talk is called React Remixed. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm not that little green dude, I'm the other one around. My name is Afonso. I'm a developer advocate at OLX Group. I'm an OutZero ambassador, and I get IO instructor, and you can find me on Twitter and pretty much any social network at the end, though. Daniel JC Afonso. Just have a sip of water. So let's go to our agenda for this talk. Now, what is this talk about? Well, actually, this talk is about web fetch APIs, HTML forms, form data objects, URL, and headers. Now, you might be wondering, didn't you say something about Remix? Yeah, because the thing is, when learning Remix, you'll have to use all these things, and you will end up relearning or learning the web. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, isn't it too much to have another JS framework? We might have a bit of fatigue. It seems like every day something new shows up. But like I said, when you learn Remix, accidentally you will learn the web. So what is Remix? Where did it come from? Remix was created by the React training team. In this scenario, we have Michael Jackson and Ryan Florence. It was created around, well, something 2 years ago. It started as a project where you had to add a license. Then it went open source early this year, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, what is Remix? Remix is actually a full-stack web framework that will let you focus on the user interface and work back through standards so that you can deliver a fast, sleek, and resilient user experience. Besides this, Remix is one of these four things here. It's a compiler, it's a server-side HTTP handler, it's a server framework, and it's a browser framework. So starting on the compiler part, Remix uses sbuild, and by using sbuild, it generates a couple of things. First things first, it generates a server HTTP handler. Then it generates a browser build. So this browser build will include things like code splitting by route, fingerprinted asset imports like CSS and images, and pretty much anything needed to run your application on a browser. Besides this, it also generates an asset manifest. So this asset manifest is used by the client and the server to know the entire dependency graph of your application. This is pretty much useful when you want to do things like preloading resources in the initial server render, as well as prefetching them for client-side transitions. This is pretty much how Remix is able to eliminate the render and fetch waterfalls that we have in most web applications. By using these build artifacts, an application built with Remix can be deployed to any hosting service as long as it runs on JavaScript. Remix is also a server-side HTTP handler. Pretty much, while Remix runs on the server, it's not actually a server. It's an handler that you can give to your JavaScript servers. It's also a server framework. So if you're familiar with server-side MVC frameworks like Rails or Laravel, Remix is the view and the controller and leaves the model up to you. And finally, it's also a browser framework. So once the document is served to the browser, Remix will hydrate your page with your browser built JavaScript models, that is. So looking at Remix philosophy. Remix embraces the server and client model. So you can make your server fast, but you can't control your user network. The only thing you can do is decrease the amount of stuff you send over the network. Also, we don't need to ship all the skeleton UI because Remix fetches and can even prefetch the data before the page is rendered. Remix works with the foundations of the web. Browsers, HTTP, and HTML. So these are technologies that have been around for a long time. They are pretty solid. Not pun intended, but they are pretty solid. Remix embraces them completely. By combining stuff like HTTP caching, Remix focus on the URLs for asset dynamic server rendering, and HTML features like the link with URL as prefetch. You have all the tools that you need to make your application pretty snappy. So these are things, like I said, that have been working for the past 20 years, and Remix embraces them. It uses JavaScript to augment the user experience by emulating the browser behavior. So, while most recent frameworks only have read APIs for data, Remix has both read and write. By using HTML forms to perform mutations, like we have been doing since the 90s, Remix will embrace and augment this API. Basically, you can add JavaScript to your application, but what this means, it will be able to speed up your user experience in a couple of ways. So pretty much avoiding not downloading and evaluating JavaScript and CSS assets, or only fetching data for the parts of the page that need to change. And finally, on this part, Remix doesn't over-abstract the underlying technologies. So this is why they say if you get good at Remix, you'll accidentally get good on the web. Remix API makes it convenient to pretty much use these fundamentals, and yeah, this part is super, super great. So now we'll get into pretty much what I say are the three main concepts, so you can get out of here and give Remix a try. So the first one is nested routing. So what is nested routing? Nested routing is pretty much the general idea that you can couple segments of the URL to define your component hierarchy in the UI. I'll show you an example in a bit. So here we have this example. Here we can see two routes, the user profile and user account. So there's something very similar in both of them. Both of them have a user. Then you have two tabs, one where you have a profile and the other when you have an account. With nested routing, pretty much what this means is, when you are on that specific route, it will only render the part specific to it. So when you click on profile, the outside page will stay the same when the profile page will change, or if you select the account, the route changes to the user account, but only that nested part changes. I'll show you a bit of code so you can get this a bit more. Yeah, next to the part of data loading and mutations. So yeah, before Remix, or when we are doing client-side stuff, we are used to use effect, React query, SWR. Remix makes this very, very simple. So here we have an example of how we can do data loading in Remix. All we need is two things. The first one is to describe a loader. So this loader is a function that it will run on the server. You can use it data, and then you return a JSON. This JSON is pretty much a wrapper of an HTTP response. Then, okay, you return this data, and you use your useLoader data hook. This hook will be responsible for, okay, give me the data that you returned, and yeah, now that's rendering. For mutations, it's very simple. The thing is, we don't define a loader, we define an action. So, as I mentioned previously, Remix uses forms to do mutations. So what we have to do is define our form with the method that we have to do in the scenario. We'll be doing a post, and then whenever this form is submitted, this data is sent to your action. Your action has access to your request. It destructures the form data and performs your mutation. It's that simple. So yeah, with this, I think you can at least try doing data fetching and mutations with Remix. Here are a couple ways to start. You can go with Remix stacks. You either have the grunge, the indie, or the blue stacks. Pretty much the things that differ here is like the boilerplate, the setup that it's done, where it's deployed, what testing stuff it uses. So you choose the one that adapts to your scenario. Now, the golden question, I guess. Remix versus Next.js. So I've heard this question quite a while. And this is a bit of a way to show this comparison. This QR code will lead you to a blog post that was done by the Remixed team in partnership with Verso. So they collaborated to build this blog, and they come to the following conclusions. Remix is as fast or faster at serving static content. Remix is faster at serving dynamic content. It enables faster user experiences even on user networks, user networks. It automatically handles errors, interruptions, and race conditions, and its build times are nearly instant in decouple for data. Okay, so you might be wondering, okay, this makes Remix seem very good. Yeah, and it's pretty good in general. What you might need to be aware is that the system is constantly changing. Yesterday, Next.js 13 came out, and it introduced a bunch of things. It changed the ecosystem. This QR code will take you to the release notes of Next.js. And while Remix might be, and is very good, and I recommend you give it a try, it's important to be aware that this ecosystem is constantly changing, and new things are introduced every day. So you choose what makes you safe, you choose what you like, and at the end of the day, it depends to you, or at the company you're working when they impose stuff that you want to work at. So before wrapping up my talk, I'm just going to show a very, very quick demo. Let's see where we have it. Okay, I'm going to try to do this on the second screen. So here, I created a simple application based on a comic by Mark Waid called Tower of Babel, where pretty much Batman just had a list of weaknesses from the Justice League. And pretty much here, what we can do is, okay, we can see the profile of the hero. It has its name, its secret identity, and his weakness. You can also add them. So let's go in here and thank you, suggestions. Let's add a superhero. And okay, this is pretty much what this application does. So now let's look at some code. So I mentioned nested routing because this is super cool. So basically what I did here is, I'm not going to go through the entire code, but what I can tell you is this defines the base structure of my application. So this part, this component here, describes this logo, this Tower of Babel, this welcome. And then on this part here, it's where we're going to have our nested route. So by adding something here that's called an outlet, it will tell Remix that, okay, everything that matches the route that's specified here, so here we say it's called heroes, everything that's inside heroes needs to be rendered here. So if we go to the heroes index, we define a page here where we go to the heroes. The index will render access the bad computer. So if we go to our application, this is the index, and this is being nested, routed inside of the page through the outlet. Okay, so now if I want to add a new hero, I just define a new page and I route to it. And here I do a couple of things, but just so you're aware, we have an action. This action will receive our HTTP request, will destructure our form data, because we'll be doing this with the form. We destructure the data we have from it. If the data is not valid, we throw a bad request. This is pretty much, just so I can show you, it returns an error, a 400 error with the data. So everything here, it's HTTP responses. And yeah, once we validate the data, we create our hero, and then we send a redirect response. So just so you're aware, this pretty much returns or redirect a 302 found with the new route. Okay, yeah, this is the part of new, just so you're aware. Here we have our form, we do a post, and once the data submit inside of here, it's showed there. Now, you might be wondering, okay, but when we create a new hero, this is going to have a new ID. So for every new hero, if we are inserting this in the database, we're going to get an ID that we cannot predict. So how can we show data that, or create routes for data that we don't know? Well, this is where we use slugs. So here what we have, by the $ hero ID, it tells Remix that everything that's in front of the route heroes, and it's not specified here, will go into this route. So in this route, what pretty much we're doing is we're checking if we have an hero ID, Wait, this is the part that interests. We're checking if we have a hero ID, we get our data, and we return it. This is also an action if we want to delete a hero. And yeah, the rest of the process is pretty much the same. We render our component, we have our form. When we want to do mutations, if we want to catch some errors, we can define an error boundary or a catch boundary. And yeah, this is pretty much the basics of building a remix page. Now, the fun thing, and that every remix demo has, and this one will have to have as well, is showing this fun thing here, which is, okay, so if we go to the network, this is the first part, not the second. Now, if we select our Superman, okay, the data is rendered. Let me just do this. Oh, doing this on external monitor. Just to expand a bit. I don't know. Okay, you can see a bit. Let me just put this network a bit slow so you can understand what I'm trying to do. So if I go here and I throttle my network, and if I try to delete Superman, this will trigger our action that will perform the mutation on the server. If I click a lot of times on delete, you can see that Remix is canceling all the requests that are being duplicated and only sending the later ones. So this is the deduping duplicated requests part of it. Now, the fun thing, and this is really the part that usually every Remix demo ends with, or starts, it depends, I'm ending with it. If I disable JavaScript, if I go to Batman, oh wait, let me just take the internet back, because, oh, okay. If I disabled JavaScript, it still works, because like I said, JavaScript in Remix is what it's called progressive enhancement. You don't need it to run the basic application, so yeah, I should have really removed the throttling, but pretty much what I'm trying to show you here is even with JavaScript disabled, you can do everything like you did in the beginning of this application. So this is the fun thing, and it makes it a better development experience. Yesterday, when I was tweaking this demo, it took me like an hour to figure out why something was not working, until I realized that I've been building this so far with JavaScript disabled that when I tried to add some bit of JavaScript, it just started yelling at me. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it, if I'm not wrong. Let me see if I have any more slides. Okay, and right on time. So yeah, I hope you're still awake. If you will give a bit or Remix a try, don't forget, frameworks come and go. Some stay, some not. We'll see how it goes to Remix. Yeah, my name is Daniel Afonso. That's the QR code for my Twitter if you want to check out the crazy stuff I say around there. And yeah, it was a pleasure meeting all of you.